Hello. So you're interested in real-world science and technology? No hype? Well, this channel is for you. Welcome. Today I want to talk about the real future of medical devices. What's actually going on? No hype. What I think is actually coming. I mean, not a specific device by any means, but just what are we to expect? Where engineering meets clinical reality, what constraints we have, regulatory, economic, technical constraints, and what will and will not scale. Given what the little that I know about the current environment, I mean, I have not successfully commercialized a medical device in full disclosure, but I am working on it. So wish me luck. Hello, my name is Greg Friedman. I have a PhD in bioengineering. I'm a former research faculty at a university, and now I'm a founder and CEO of a plasma company. And one of the applications of plasmas is in medicine, so we are working on commercializing medical device. And part of today's conversation that I'll share with you are the pains and problems I run into and things I didn't really expect. So let's first talk about the myth of rapid innovation. In medical device world, at least in United States of America, other countries differ, but in US, medical devices evolve rather slowly. Medical devices are governed by Food and Drug Administration, and the regulatory timelines, they're pretty long. And there's a really, really good reason for that. I am very thankful as a consumer, as a human living amongst you. I'm very thankful for FDA for how much scrutiny they exert on us as medical device manufacturers. During COVID, we developed a product which we tried to get emergency use authorization for. And the process was very tough, very tough. And for a good reason. On the other side of that process is safety for the clinicians that are using this for other humans. So I am, as a person, I'm very glad that Food and Drug Administration is as thorough as they are, but that does take time. Clinical validation, if your device goes through clinical trials, especially phase 3 double-blind clinical trials, that takes a long time. It takes a long time to organize it, takes a long time to run the trial, and even if everything works perfectly, still there's time to analyze statistics and converse with the Food and Drug Administration. That could take years. And safety is far more important than how fast you get this thing into the consumer's hands. So there is no rapid innovation, not that I've seen. So what does actually drive adoption? Well, of course, clinical need is at the helm of that. But also adoption is driven by, well, how are manufacturers and how are doctors going to get paid for this? So what is the reimbursement pathway? You can say that the medical system in the United States is broken. Yeah, whatever. You can say whatever you want. But the reality that we live in, the way the treatment and the device and the use of device, the way it gets reimbursed matters, and it matters a lot. Another thing is, how easy is it to use? Look, medical professionals are human too. And if there are two devices that get about the same thing done in about the same way, well, they're going to use the one that's easier to use, wouldn't you? And reliability. Yeah, it's easy to use, but does it actually do what it's supposed to, or it breaks half the time, halfway through the procedure? So, adoption of medical devices, and that's very different. Actually, let's talk for a moment difference between a drug device and a drug device combo. To put it very simply, if it's a chemical in a pill that you take, well, that's a drug. And the pathway for evaluation of drugs by the Food and Drug Administration is pretty set, well defined. Device is very different from a drug, like a knife. It cuts, so FDA has different set of protocols and processes and procedures for different kinds of devices. And FDA understands a lot of devices: laser, radiological devices, knives, eyeglasses. They're all medical devices. And FDA has cleanly defined pathways. What if you're something like plasma? Well, plasma, it's a device, but it's a device that also brings active chemistry into the picture. Well, chemistry is a drug. So is plasma drug, device, or a drug device combo, which makes FDA process even more tricky. Let's talk about incremental versus breakthrough medical devices. And I'll focus this conversation more on devices than drugs. So incremental versus breakthrough. Most innovation that I observe is rather incremental. There is a pathway in Food and Drug Administration called 510K. 510K relies on existence of a similar device. So let's say you're a company that many years ago invented a medical laser and went through all of the hoops and did everything to get it through the FDA, and now it's in a clinic. Well, it's been a long time, so maybe a slight modification to the laser so you can use your old laser as a predicate device to your new laser with these slight modifications. As a result, a lot of the work is incremental rather than breakthrough. Breakthroughs are rare. The FDA has a de novo classification like this, a brand new device, no predicates. It's a longer path, pre-market authorization. I mean, there are books written about this. I can't really fit that into this short YouTube video. I'm just giving you a general overview. But you can imagine bringing a brand new type of device, like a toothbrush that cleans your tooth using ultrasonic, vibrating, I don't know, stainless steel bristles. I've never seen anything like that. So that would be something new, and I don't know how FDA would look at it, but you can imagine that would be harder to bring to market than toothbrush that's exactly like the toothbrush you produced last year, just has, 3 different speed settings. So your old one was medium, and now you have low, medium, and high. But incremental improvements, they still matter. Now your toothbrush has low, medium, and high. And maybe in your clinical trials, you showed that patients who have some kind of oral condition, and when they use medium, that is too damaging. So for them, low setting, blah, blah, blah. Incremental improvements are still very important. And also, look, adoption. I mean, people need to buy your toothbrush. Doctors need to recommend your new toothbrush. So adoption of your new device favors low risk, minimal upgrades. Look, I can imagine going to a dentist and him or her telling me like, oh my God, last year I recommended to you this one, and this year there is even better one. It's the same thing, just a tiny bit better. I would imagine me being more comfortable with thinking about buying that toothbrush, the clinician being more comfortable with recommending it, etc., etc., etc. Let's talk about the role of materials. So there are constant advancements with polymers and polymer coatings and different metal organic frameworks. Coatings matter, and there is a constraint. If your medical device comes in contact with a human, biocompatibility, as you can imagine, is quite important. There is, I told this story in one of my previous videos. There was a medical device, I believe it was surgical scissors. And if those scissors were sterilized in this one type of sterilizer, then part of the scissor would become carcinogenic. So biocompatibility, very important. Sterilization compatibility, very important. A lot of medical devices that you see in your dentist's office or in your doctor's office, they're single use. Medical company that makes the device sterilizes it. It comes in a nice package, single use. Doctor uses it and throws it away. Well, if it's a $2-3 syringe, that's okay. There are some catheters, like I have in my lab. I have this really intricate ENT, ear, nose, and throat type of catheter that goes right up into your sinuses, and lots of bells and whistles. And I believe it's like $1,500, and it's single use. So every time doctor has to use that, your bill goes up by $1,500, and let's hope your insurance approves that. So you would like that device to be, especially $1,500 device, you would like it to be more than a single use, but is it compatible with the sterilizer that that particular doctor has in his or her office? So all of this is kind of intertwined. Materials are intertwined with sterilizers. So it's pretty complex and complicated challenge there. And materials are very important. They often limit the design. Like, for example, for my medical device, we frequently use quartz as one of the ingredients, and quartz is expensive. With quartz, the device can be used many times. But then we have to worry about sterilizing it. But if we're using single use, then quartz is too expensive, so we need to switch to cheaper plastics. But how will those plastics behave in plasma? There are many issues that need to be considered during the design phase of your medical product. Not forgetting not just how it's going to be used, but how it's going to be reimbursed. And what can be reimbursed is the price of a thing you're designing even compatible with the reimbursement strategy. Now, since I'm talking about energy-based devices, lasers, radio frequency devices, plasmas, they're all already in the clinic. Doctors have access to them. These are devices that use, it falls in the category of directed energy medicine. And here, for all of these directed energy medicine devices, dose and dose rate are critical. Things differ with different patients. Like maybe my skin is a little more oily than your skin, and how is this laser or that plasma going to react to that? What happens if there is some dirt on my skin? So all of those are important things to consider when you're designing your medical device. And if you're just listening to this video out of sheer interest, well, those are all the problems that the device designers have to deal with, and this is why it takes so much time and costs so much money. There's lots of things to consider. And engineering precision, what are your tolerances? And FDA has a whole set of documents on the tolerance requirements and manufacturing facility requirements. So it gets tricky. There is also data. When we start talking about smart devices, and I'm not talking about device with embedded Siri and AI chip, I'm talking even devices with embedded sensors, like something that measures your temperature. Simple thing like temperature measurement. Well, does it send it somewhere? If it sends it somewhere, it has access to the Wi-Fi network. If it has access to the Wi-Fi network or LoRaWAN network or some kind of network, well, it's if it has access to the network, it can be hacked. So what happens if a thing that's attached to you measuring your temperature gets hacked? Well, I don't know, but those are all different things that must be considered in production of medical devices. And since we're talking about future medical devices, it doesn't matter how fast AI is evolving. All of these issues, they have been with us for decades. They're not going away anywhere. And the hackers with the AI tools are only getting better. Anyway, speaking of AI, there's a lot of progress in AI-based diagnostics. So in the near future, I think we will see a lot of AI assistance to medical professionals. And it's definitely assistance, like, you take some images of your teeth and dentist will run them through AI and maybe help the dentist detect the cavities that are very early in their development stages or things like that. That for sure, yes. And I think medical device manufacturers will be integrating AI into their existing systems. So there's already, your dentist already has an imaging system. And with the new upgrade for another $20,000, the supplier who supplied your dentist with that system will offer an upgrade where AI will help the doctor detect. It's still going to be pretty much the same imaging system. You will still have to put the little apron. Not much is going to change, but there will be small incremental improvements that definitely lead to better outcomes. Real-time feedback. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to have seen one of the early Da Vinci robots. That's a robot telemedicine. So it's a robotic system that does the surgery on the patient, and the doctor is actually doing that surgery remotely. So the doctor is moving robotic hands that can be tens, hundreds of thousands of miles away. You can think of surgery being performed at, during a war situation somewhere when the doctor is chilling in, upstate New York. Real-time feedback, it has been with us, and it's only getting better. Again, it's more incremental, but these things are getting cheaper, better, faster. So we're going to be seeing more and more and more and more of that, and I applaud that. That's really awesome. I do see a bit of point of care shift coming. Hospitals are getting more and more infested with superbugs. For example, like these multi-drug antibiotic-resistant bacteria. There are some projections saying that by 2050, deaths from multi-drug resistant bacteria in hospitals will outpace deaths from cancers. So there is a general trend of moving out of hospitals. If it's a simple procedure, maybe your clinician can do it during your office visit, or even, give you a portable system that you can take home with you and do the treatment yourself, like home-based care. One of the devices that we're thinking about with plasma, we're considering making it consumer-friendly and sufficiently inexpensive that it could be an off-the-shelf purchase. And there, simplicity becomes critical. One button, even no button. Like my toothbrush, I have an electric toothbrush. One button. It turns on. It vibrates every 30 seconds, so I know to switch from bottom to the back, to the top, to the back, and then it stops. It's very simple. And you're dealing with me. It's 5 a.m. I'm groggy and I'm brushing my teeth. Are you sure I'm going to even push that button the right way? I remember a long time ago, maybe a couple of weeks after I got that toothbrush, I'm standing there in the morning and just using it as I would a regular toothbrush, and then it hits me, wait, it's supposed to be vibrating, and it's supposed to be doing the work, not me. But anyway, consumers, yeah, simplicity is very important. And manufacturing reality. Manufacturing today and manufacturing 10 years ago, not much different. Maybe some of it is done robotically, but what we're doing is we're reducing manufacturing cost by replacing humans with robotic arms. Those arms, they can work 24/7, so they can produce more output, but the process is generally similar. So I don't see too many kind of huge improvements or breakthroughs in the manufacturing reality. Scalability constraints, they've always been there. Our world is becoming less and less globalized. So supply chain logistics, they were an issue. They're becoming bigger issue, and I see in the next decade or two, they will continue to be bigger and bigger issues. The world is going through a deglobalization phase. Cost of goods, I mean, your medical device is a device. It has some cost, and the lower that cost, the better. You'll be able to sell more of them. Where I do see improvement that's needed and coming is in design for manufacturability. A lot of designers that I know, myself included, we use SolidWorks, and there are all these techniques for SolidWorks designers. It's called design for manufacturability. So you design your tool so it's easier to manufacture later on. And in my case, all of those skills are learned skills. It's something that I had to teach myself. A lot of times it's trial and error. And I see a lot of potential for integration of AI type assistants to help me design better. I'm still going to be driving the SolidWorks, the 3D modeling software, but please, I need more tools to help me make fewer mistakes. And God knows I make a lot of them. That's why having 3D printers is really awesome. I design something, print it out, and realize all the things I screwed up, and then redesign it. But I still waste a half a day on printing. So, manufacturing reality is still manufacturing reality. And regulatory constraints, yes, we're moving into the future, but regulatory constraints aren't changing. And if they change very slowly. FDA is going to stay right where it's at. I don't see that changing too much. So all of those challenges are with us, and they're going to stay. We still need to do clinical trials. I don't see that changing. I see increase in the amount of documentation, but that's always been the case. As if you look at the past, there was less regulatory oversight, less documentation, but I would argue the outcome was worse. So now there is more regulatory oversight. It's better. Fewer people die. Risk management in device design, yeah, all of that is staying with us. So the future there is the same as the now and the same as the yesterday. So what do I think the future looks like? Oh, there is a general move towards safer, simpler devices, more consumer-friendly, more accessible. In general, manufacturing costs are going down as we come up with better, cheaper, faster materials. So in general, I see trend towards better, simpler, safer devices. More automation, more feedback, smarter feedback, better integration with digital systems, better integration with your phone. And realism. Let's be real about it. There is always hype that the future is going to be awesome. I thought we were supposed to have flying cars, and I thought we're supposed to already be colonizing Mars. Well, it's happening, just not at a crazy pace. It takes time, and it's important to take things at the right pace. So, in closing thoughts, medical devices evolve. They evolve, though, under existing and increasing constraints. We're talking about combination of engineering advancements, regulatory developments, and just market economics. Real progress is there. It's often subtle. As a consumer, you may not see it so much, but I do buy a new electric toothbrush every 2-3 years, and new one always feels better than the old one. So there's constant little improvements, and it's very cool. And every so often there is a breakthrough new medical device, which is absolutely awesome. And I did a couple of videos on plasma medical devices, so you can look those up if you're interested. So anyway, love making these videos, love talking about science with you. And if you have any questions, please post them in the comments section. If those questions are answerable by a video, I love doing that. Peace. I'll see you in the next one.